y'all? Welcome back. So, if you guys haven't heard, there was a tragedy that happened with two kids, two high school kids. They were at a track meet, Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. So it was said that Karmelo was pretty much getting bullied, essentially getting bullied by Austin, and they got in an altercation. Karmelo pulls out a knife, he stabs Austin, saying that he's trying to defend himself, and Austin ends up passing away. Karmelo pretty much goes to jail. Now, I'm guessing that today he just got out of jail, right?
Out on bond.
So he's out on bond, right? So I wanted to just dive in on the story. For those of you who haven't heard it, that's kind of what happened. That's the gist of what happened. Of course, Anthony's team is basically saying, hey, well, this was self-defense. This was self-defense. He was getting bullied, and that's why he pulled the knife out and stabbed the guy. He didn't mean to kill him, but that's what ended up happening. Because of his age, they're not going to give him life. I'm hoping that it doesn't result in him getting crazy time neither. But it's an interesting story, man. It's interesting because it's like, what side do you believe? On one hand, it's like, okay, well, this kid is getting bullied. He's tired of getting bullied, and he defends himself finally after getting bullied, and he goes to the extreme of stabbing the other kid, right? And probably didn't mean to kill him, but that's what happened. On the other side, it's like, you could have not took it to that level, and it's a tough situation because I'm kind of leaning towards the other side, and a lot of people will say, because of course it's a race thing, right? It's like, this black kid's getting bullied, he defends himself, he stabs a white kid, right? But I always gotta call a spade, and I gotta say how I truly feel, and it's like I'm kind of leaning more towards the other side because I feel like, was it necessary to take it to that level? You know what I'm saying? And it's a tough situation because you don't know how bad he could have been getting bullied. You don't know what that situation could have looked like. You don't know, what the behind the scenes was. Was he in fear for his life where he felt like he had to grab the knife? Yeah. But I do feel like it's one of those things where it's like,
yeah.
Do you take it to that extent?
Yeah.
How you feel about it?
I feel like it is one of those things where it was a moment of you just blew away everything, from somebody just saying this tent is only allowed for track meet people. Like, it's only for the group. That's it. For it to go to that extent, I don't know, there has to be more to it, but for it to go to that extent, I feel like you could have just left. Instead of, now you kind of ruined your life as a young black man instead of just walking away. Yeah.
You know? I mean, I've been in positions, around that age where, like, you take it to the extreme because you want people to know, like, hey, I'm not to be played with, or whatever the case may be, right? Or, you feel like you're getting bullied and you like, yo, like, I'm not playing no more. You know what I'm saying? But it's one of them things, me being older, me being in my 30s, just understanding, like, yeah, like, you throwing your life away. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And when you play them type of games, it's one of them things where you can't take it back like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, but that's why I say, like, I don't feel like he had to take it to that extent. You know what I'm saying? Now, if his life was in danger and the other kid was saying, I'm gonna kill you or this and that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, then maybe that's why he took it to that extent. But nobody's coming out and saying that. Nobody's saying, hey, well, witnesses aren't saying on either side. They aren't saying that it was to that extent. It's just kind of like, well, he got mad and he was, he was turned up and he was just like, yo, I'm gonna go and do this. But like Chanel said, it's like you throwing your life away for a small situation. Something where you could have just walked away and been like, you know what, I'm gonna take this L. Or you could have just fought the dude, you know what I'm saying, and that be that, and then you would have been able to live another day, been able to see another day. You know, so he kind of put himself in a crazy position.
Yeah.
My best advice as somebody older, you know, it's like try to handle situations. And for all the younger dudes that's watching, it ain't always about trying to be the toughest dude. You know what I'm saying? It ain't always about trying to be that guy and you just, hey, I'm gonna take it to that level. Because again, like you lose in the end. So he's like, oh, I stabbed him, whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, okay, boom. People looking at him like, oh, he crazy. But guess what? Now you ain't got shit going on. You know what I'm saying? Like now your life is not going to be the same. You're not going to go back to being able to run track and being able to get a scholarship or being able to, you know, have a regular life. It's not going to happen like that. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go through all of this stuff and you may have to sit down and do some real time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? You know what I'm saying? I've seen so many stories where, you know, you see people just reacting. And I know personally because I've been in their shoes before. Where I reacted, luckily God spared me and was like, yo, like, I'm going to give you a chance. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I be so cool and I'll be like, I'm chilling. Because I've been there before. I've been there where you like, man, I'm embarrassed. I feel like so-and-so trying to punk me. You know, I'm going to take it all the way there. You know what I'm saying? And again, you know what I'm saying? Being in that position, I know what that feels like. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, do you want to throw your life away?
Yeah.
You got to ask yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's just a sad situation. I mean, and I guess there was rumors too that the other boy, he had some some charges against him too back then, or he was like he was on drugs, or I don't know. There's just rumors about that too, because they did like a little side-by-side thing, like his sheet and the other boy's sheet. But they were like, well, what if the tables were turned? Like, would this have been a $1 million bond? Like, so I feel like that's why the judge dropped it to $250, to be honest, because it's just like, if he was white, would the bond really be that high?
Yeah. I mean, you know, and it's one of them things. It may not have been that high. It may have been a little different. You know, but I think all around the board it's just unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
All around the board. You know, like I said, he could have felt. I always like to kind of play devil's advocate in a sense and like, you know, look at both sides. On one side, you know, Karmelo could have been in fear, where it's like, I know that this dude is crazy, so it's him or me, because I know what he gonna do to me. On the other side, it's like, yeah, like, why do you take it that serious? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why you just didn't punch him? Why you just didn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's just one of them things. But I mean, nevertheless, man, I feel like you got to make executive decisions. You have to in life, right? And it is one of the unfortunate situations where it's like everybody doesn't get grace. You know, everybody doesn't get a second chance to say, you know.
And I hope he does.
Yeah.
You know, even though what he did was wrong, I do hope he gets a second chance. I do hope, of course, he is going to have to, you know, go to jail, go to prison for a little bit or whatever. But I hope it's not half of his life. You know, it's sit down for a second, lesson learned. You did what you did. Now this will follow you for the rest of your life. And it's probably going to be hard for you to get into colleges or whatever it may be. But lesson learned, you sat down for a little bit, and okay, now you're out. Not, you know, not half of, you know, his life.
Yeah, I mean, I think
he's only 17.
Yeah, I think this is just a learning lesson that we gotta just be wiser. You know, as young men, we gotta be wiser. You know what I'm saying? Because again, within a snap of your finger, your whole life can change. You know, it ain't always about being the toughest nigga. It ain't always about, you know, being a guy that's like, I can't, I'm and you just want to build a rep for yourself. It ain't always about that shit. You know what I'm saying? And when you younger, you don't look at it from that perspective because you young, you like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna see that age anyway. But then when you get older, you look back like, damn, man, I'm glad I didn't take that shit to the extent, or I'm glad I got out of that situation, or I was dumb for that because it slowed me up. You know what I'm saying? And I always say this to all my homies, like, we already behind as black men. We already behind. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to sound like the preachy older nigga, but it's the truth. We already behind. So if we already behind, don't make your situation harder than what it gotta be. That shit just goofy. It sound cool when you younger. It sound cool. Oh, nigga, I'm not turning down nothing. No, he say something to me, nigga, it's on. It sounds cool till you slow your life up, slow your money up. You know what I'm saying? Slow your opportunities up. Then you looking back like, God damn, I done got locked up for 10 years for some dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? 15 years for some dumb shit. Now I'm way behind. I was already behind as a black man. Now I'm way, way, way behind. So now I got to play catch up. So now when my friends are in their careers and living a life and buying their first homes and getting married and going on vacations, I'm sitting back just like, damn, I want to be the toughest nigga in the world. And now I'm sitting back like, damn.
Yeah.
My life is slow as hell now. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks. Like, who wants to live in that? But I mean, at the end of the day, man, you gotta just think smarter. But I send my condolences to the family. Again, the situation is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But it's one of them things where it's just we gotta just be better all around the board.
Yeah.
But as always, man, we appreciate y'all watching. We appreciate the love and support. Make sure you hit that notification bell. Turn on that notification bell. Turn the notification bell on. And, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Keep supporting, man. We appreciate the love. We'll catch y'all on the next one.